Hi, I'm Aiden from Titan Robotics, and today I'm going to walk you through how I made the video game for our Virtual Outreach series. So I used JavaScript to create this game, and which means that we can host it easily on our website. So in JavaScript, the first thing that you start with often when you're making a video game is an element called a canvas. And so a canvas is just like a canvas that you'd use to paint on. It's just a blank area that you have to work with. In my case, I use the canvas to paint on all of the images, text, the rectangles, buttons, all of that. Just like an artist needs paintbrushes and tools to paint on his canvas, we need tools to paint on ours. So in this second line of code here, you can see that I'm getting the 2D rendering context for this canvas. So the 2D rendering context, or just context for short, is like the paintbrushes and pencils and markers, whatever you'd use to draw on a real canvas. But in this case, it allows us to draw all of the images, text, and rectangles that you see on screen. A context is kind of like a manager for all of the pixels in the canvas. So when you import an image, it says, okay, all of these pixels here change to the colors in this image. What we can do is define a custom object. In this case, I call it robot, and this object allows us to basically control all of the activities of this object. So in this case, for the robot, we have an X position, a Y position, and then an index. And so this index selects a random image from a list of images that I have of all of the different robots in the game. And so when we actually start the game up, it's going to pick a random image from that list, and then the number in that list, so if it's like the first, second, or third image, it stores that in this variable here. And here you can see we have all of these different things that we can do to this robot. So you can think of it as like, these are all of the properties of this robot, and then these are things that it can do. So we can draw the robot onto the canvas, and we can also update its position and location. We can also just update its position. So as you can see, this game is kind of like a version of Snake. You go around and collect the different parts and build up your parade of robots. In this case, what I decided to do, instead of making a separate robot for each robot in the parade, what I decided to do is just have the first robot move around, and then it would copy all of its important characteristics into the robots that were following it. So I have each of the follower robots in an object called follower, and these followers, as they go down the parade, they basically take on the X and Y position of the robot in front of them. And last but not least, we have the part. This is like the game object that the robots are trying to go around and collect. So for the parts, we also have an index up here, and so that selects a random image from the list of parts that we have. And then just like the robot, we have a draw function and an update function. And all that the update function does is check if the head of the robot parade is at the same position as the part. And then if it does, it uses another function that it has, which is get a new position, to find a new place to be. It repicks the image, and then it increases the score. In order to get these robots to move around the screen, we have to have some kind of interval. So on this interval, we're going to be updating the robot's position and making them move around the page. So I have that in this function here. This is all a part of the update function right here. So when this update is called, it does one of these things depending on what condition the game is in. And then at the very end, it basically says, all right, at a specified time interval, which I have here called int, you're going to call this function again. And so it's like a never-ending loop of a function calling itself. And you can see at the very end of our code here, the last thing we do once we have all of our functions defined is we just call the update function. And then from then on, it just continually calls itself. I hope that was an informative look into the inner workings of this game. You can find it hosted on our team website at frc5587.org. Make sure to stick around for more virtual outreach videos. Check out our channel if you haven't seen them already, and be sure to like and subscribe.